I want just to mention those red lines here, don't worry about them. Those for are handling TypeScript. And I assume that you've learned TypeScript for this course, but don't worry, I'm gonna add the TypeScript for those functions. And also, don't worry if you don't know TypeScript right now, because our code's gonna work without adding TypeScript, okay? But TypeScript is gonna make our code better, okay? So now let's go to our home screen and try to fetch our API, this endpoint. So if we open it in Google, we're gonna fetch it like that. Let's fetch this list of box inside our app. So let's go and use this function, get list of box function. First, we're gonna use our use state hawk to store the data in our state inside screen, okay? So let's add two values, box list and set box list, okay? Second, we're gonna use effect to fetch our data. Finally, we're gonna use our function, our get list of box function. So let's import it here, get list of box, and pass the parameter of it on success callback and on error callback. On success, it takes a data. This data is the list of box, so we can name it box, okay? And we're gonna set list of box here to set our component state, our home screen state to our box. The second argument is the error callback. What if we got an error? So it takes an error and we're gonna just console.log it right now. Console.log error. Now let's press save and try to log those box list. Log box list and press save to see. Now we got our box list here. Look, those are the list from API. And now let's render this array in our app. To render this array, we're gonna use the FlatList component. So we're gonna delete all of this and just only render the FlatList component. And FlatList take three main properties: the data, and it's gonna be box list, and keyExtractor, and renderItem to know which item we're gonna render. Okay, let's remove this log and to define the keyExtractor function and renderItem function as well. First, keyExtractor, let's make it item, and it's gonna be item.id .toString. Okay, because the keyExtractor of each data is gonna be the ID of this box, this ID, okay? Second, the renderItem is gonna be the box component that we've created before. So first, let's just extract our item from data and render box card. Now let's press save and see. Look, when we've rendered the box card, we see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 box. Like our data. See, we got here a 7 box. If you count them. But there is no data because we didn't pass any props here. We didn't pass the author name, image URL, price, title. So first, let's pass the image, the author name. You have to make sure the author name here, we can get it from the item. If you log the item, you're gonna get logged like this. This item, this called an item, and this called another item, and this another item. So to render the data from an item, you have to make sure you pass the exact key from the backend. For example, name of author here is a camel case, author name, but you cannot make it item.author name like this. This is gonna work. You need to pass the key from the backend. I mean this key, name of author from the backend. So let's replace it here and press save and see. Look, now we can see our author name appears because we used the key from the backend. Okay, so this item referred to the data from the backend, to this item. Okay. Second, let's try to render the price. To render the price, we need to take this key, price of box. So if you want to render price, just add price is equal to item.price of box and press save. Now look, we got here the prices. Those prices are too much, but it's just a dummy data for learning. So don't focus on those prices, okay? Let's make N1 at each line, like this. We're gonna format our code later, but I just only want to show you, okay? The third property is image URL, and it's gonna be item dot, and see what's the data coming from backend is cover. You can also get it from the log here, okay? And now let's press save and see. Now we got here the covers. Finally, let's add the book title. So our last property is the title, and it's gonna be item dot what dot. Oops, our API need some changes because the backend doesn't provide us with the title of the book. So in this case, you need to contact with the backend team and tell them to add the title of the book. But since we've created our API from mock API, so we are responsible to do this. Okay, so let's go to mock API and to open our project called bookstore, and go to our box and try to edit this endpoint. And let's add another key of book title, for example, and this is gonna be string. Or we can make it thicker to make the website build it for us. Let's make it, for example, country. What to choose? Let's try to search for title, or let's add names. Let's search with names, and you can add any data that you want. For example, let's make it city name, any data that you want, okay? This is just for learning. And let's press on update. And now let's generate another box to make our new data is generated. So now we've generated new data. So now let's go to our project. And the title was book title, like this. And now let's press save and let's reload our app. Look, those are our new data. The title, the author name, the price. This is not a real data, but don't worry, this is not your job. This is the backend team job. So this API is just for learning, okay?